It's in the game.
Well, as match day ones go, you have to say that the Champions League one has been very unkind to Newcastle United, drawing them first against Paris Saint-Germain, the holders, at the Parc de France. This is the most intimidating match this new Newcastle side has had so far. So, here we go, Newcastle United's biggest test so far this season, an away trip in the Champions League to face the reigning champions, Paris Saint-Germain. There probably is going to be no tougher task for any team this season. So, it is the second year of the table format now in this Champions League. It's had a year to get in. I'm still pretty undecided on it, to be honest. I think the bigger part of me does prefer the older format, and I think that's just a case of growing up with what you know, and change can sometimes be difficult. I don't think it's really changed that much. I think the biggest change, of course, as we said in the UEFA Super Cup coverage, we said that, you know, in this league phase, in this league format, no teams really drop out of the Champions League into the Europa League like they used to. So it probably makes the Europa League probably a little bit easier to win. That would be the criticism. Personally, I don't think there is any easy game in Europe ever. It doesn't really matter where you are. So it's interesting. I think we'll still give it this season to see where we really truly stand. And Paris Saint-Germain have been busy. Unai Simon now is the goalkeeper at Paris Saint-Germain. Now, Chavler did a very admirable job stepping in for Gigi Donnarumma, who was of course signed by Manchester City in the transfer window. But Paris Saint-Germain feeling they want a younger keeper, and well, Chavler's probably no old player or old keeper, but certainly can't go wrong with Unai Simon, formerly of Athletic Bilbao, I believe, and now at Paris Saint-Germain. Of course, with Paris Saint-Germain comes the territory of you must win or we will hound you. So Unai Simon, a lot of pressure on him tonight because Paris Saint-Germain are the favourites. Voldemade gets a start for Newcastle United tonight. It's Schär and Lacazette at the back, as Eddie Howe has been not forced to rotate his squad but feels the need to do so. Big night for Anthony Elanga. He has played in the Champions League for Manchester United before, I believe. So he's no real rookie on this stage. And I think he was even part of that memorable team that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer grabbed a miraculous result against a few years ago. So he certainly knows his way around these big occasions. Well, this is going to be a statement of intent game for Newcastle, because this is obviously they faced Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Werder Bremen in the Champions Cup pre-season trophy, but this is a whole different ball game. This is in the Champions League against the reigning champions, and as we said, you have to say that maybe Newcastle are the kind of underdogs here, but if there's one thing Eddie Howe is good at, it's making underdog stories work. So we'll have to see if this comes to fruition. Fiao is actually making his first Newcastle United start since signing, I believe, from Bayer Leverkusen in the pre-season. And obviously, Victor Voldemade was from Stuttgart and has come under, not criticism, but certainly a name mentioned in the press. I think it was by the Bayern Munich president, or something to do, some meeting of German press somewhere. I'm not really sure who it was. I only really heard about it recently. But very harsh, and it should light a fire under Nick Voldemade, to be honest. So we'll see if he can ignite that tonight And there'll be no better stage than this. The Parc des Français, I think this is called. Sorry if my pronunciation was awful, but or something like that. And well, it certainly is a big stage. And Newcastle, as long as they show no fear tonight, they'll be absolutely fine, even if they lose, because this is a tough one against the European champions. Not the kindest first game to Newcastle United with how it all works now. Romento. Oh, a bit passive with the ball there. I think he had less space than he thought. There's Bruno Guimaraes. I think Bruno Guimaraes is the only man to start every game for Newcastle United so far this season, being the captain. That probably goes without saying, to be honest. And it is a player debut for Unai Simon, so he signed probably on deadline day, to be honest. Ball in here by Ramsey. Mendes brings it down. Voldemore's got there, and Simon read it wonderfully, to be fair. And got the ball. That was very well done. Because Voldemore probably could have got something on that. Here's Jan Neves. Well, we last saw Paris Saint-Germain in the UEFA Super Cup, who had a convincing win over Tottenham Hotspur. Probably no real surprises at the end of the day, to be honest, considering the gap between the two, really. Paris Saint-Germain is, that's obviously no disrespect to Spurs, and they were under new manager Thomas Frank at the time as well, and they still are, of course. Guimaraes, that's a bad pass, Dembele, and Pope has got there. Bit indecisive there from Nick Pope, didn't know whether to go for it or not. Fortunately, he made the right decision, but that was not a good pass from Guimaraes. That's very rare, to be honest. Manchester City have already taken the lead against Galatasaray. Probably no real surprises there. Salvino is the scorer. There's a lot of opening games tonight in this season's Champions League. Voldemort could have made that pass work to Voldemort. He was heading towards it. Justina to Dembele. Dembele's playing versus his man, and Nick Pope makes the save. And he's probably going to be busy this evening, Nick Pope, to be fair. But here comes a dreaded set piece. The Newcastle United, they're starting to dread these a little bit. They've certainly not had the best of records. I know I said that last time, I probably jinxed them last time out. Will it happen again? Thankfully not. Nick Pope gathers that one up. A bit of a clutter at the back here for Newcastle United. Forces Nick Pope to kick in. Voldemort does very, very well indeed to break it down. To Livramento. And now Ramsey. And now here come Newcastle United at pace again. He does brilliantly. Tonali picks up Voldemort here. He's going to turn his man out. Voldemort is going to shoot and score. Nick Voldemort scores for Newcastle United, and that's an instant response. That's a response and a half from a man who received very unfair criticism from a team in the German media. I'm not sure whether it was Bayern Munich or someone else, but he has just responded emphatically to that with a goal in the Champions League for Newcastle United against the holders. Newcastle lead. And Nick Voldemort grabs his first goal for Newcastle United. And he is going to be loved back home if that leads to a win, I'll tell you that for free. Because Paris Saint-Germain, they're going to come out swinging now. Seska with a touch into some space, but didn't really make much of it, unfortunately. Jolinton puts a leg out, and Kocheska makes a strike, and Nick Pope saves. And that was probably very lucky, but I think Jolinton, he did really well in the initially, but the ball got away from him. And Paris really had that kind of fall into their lap, but at the same time, can't really blame Jolinton for it. But here's Kulusevski with another corner. Probably pronouncing his name wrong, I do apologise. Mendes. Mendes low, driven cross. Didn't work out though. Bettina almost cutting out that pass from Ramsey. Alvarado in the whole lane for the pitch. I think Ramsey ran into Pancho, quite honestly. Here is Fabian. I think it's Fabian Torres, but I'm not sure. Garage. I think he might be a new signing, Fabian, actually. As Anthony Elanga breaking at pace, and Fabian cuts that out for a Newcastle corner. Well, they scored from one against Wolves with Botman on the pitch, but I don't think Botman makes a start tonight. It's Lucas Zales who gets the nod. And I think Balede probably is a bit of a more of a precaution than anything else, as he was holding his arm for a while from a shoulder injury of some kind. Lacazette can't get to that one. Dembele, great tackle. Oh, that's Lacazette actually, so it's Lacazette and Fuego, I think. He might be playing right back. He can play there. And into Ramsey. And, well, that's wasteful. Can't really do that against Paris Saint-Germain usually. I would have loved to be a mascot. I'm just going to point that out. Every time me and the missus go to the Emirates Stadium for a match she attends, I always wish I could be a mascot. Yeah, that's a good tackle. Newcastle really do press well, don't they? Very much a pressing team, Newcastle. That mixed in with their superb wing play, of their undoubted speed, of their wingers, in particular Anthony Gordon, who doesn't start tonight. Certainly a very good combination Eddie Howe's got going in this side. There's Burger Mirage with another tackle. And as we saw from the debut of Javi Guerra, that's certainly a philosophy he's kind of implementing. Javi Guerra was brilliant. Wonderful play, wonderful stuff. Elanga is offside, but that was tremendous. Probably a little bit risky, but even still. Here's Mendes. Paris Saint-Germain really haven't. They forced Pope to a couple of saves, but nothing much to speak of at the moment. Wonderful through ball there. Fabian picked it up. And Fabian Schär snuffs that chance out. So I think it's Schär and Lacazette is the centre-back partnership tonight. Longer. To Morales. Got all to do here. Athena cuts it out. And it doesn't roll out for a corner. And Paris Saint-Germain carry on. There's Fabian. And Pele. Newcastle really content just to sit back and not overcommit so hard. When they do press, it usually works very well for them. Passionate crowd here at the Parc de France. Expect nothing less. But they're in for a shock because their team is one down. Battling with Fiao, and Fiao puts it out for a corner. Yeah, I think it's going to be Kulusevski, or is it Fabian? I think it's Fabian that's going to take this one. Oh, Dembele! Oh, and Tonali, he knew nothing about it at the far post. He literally moved his body, and it came off his knee. And that straightened it for the save. Once again, Newcastle looking a little bit shaky at corners. It's not really been all convincing, is it? Oh, Fabian Schär, that's poor. And Schär, and thankfully he made up for it immediately, but oh my, that could have been a very bad mistake. You could not do that against the holders. Thankfully, they got away with it, and Schär gets another one in as well. Yeah. Longer. Mirage. Why did Voldemort move away from the ball? But he has got it. Picks out Jolinton here. Jolinton shoots. It's 2-0. Newcastle United are in dreamland. Paris Saint-Germain 0. Newcastle United 2 at the Parc de France. What a story. Well, this looked to be coming out of absolutely nothing. Voldemort moved away from the ball, but then received it, picked out Jolinton, bang. And there's Simon with no chance. Well, this is Newcastle United's world, and we're living in it, and they're living in dreamland. Oh my goodness. Newcastle United. Absolutely stellar play in this first half. And they are on for a huge, huge upset. But it's not over yet. Vitina. And he's wide. Oh my goodness. Newcastle. No one would have given Newcastle a hope tonight. But they have proved all the doubters wrong in this first half. Pope with the goal kick. It's going to be the last kicks of the game. Wow. What a story. The crowd's not happy. I'll tell you something for free. Not a lot of teams can say not only have they beaten Paris Saint-Germain, they're dominating them. But Newcastle United in this first half, at least, can definitely say it. Paris Saint-Germain 0, Newcastle United 2. Well, welcome to the Parc de France for the second half of match day 1 in this new look UEFA Champions League following on from last season. And boy, we could be in for an upset on day 1 because Paris Saint-Germain, the reigning champions, the holders of this prestigious competition, are being beaten and pretty much to a degree blown out of stadium by Newcastle United, who have had a stunning first half and look to build on it with Livramento immediately, but that shot is wide, unfortunately. And Luis Enrique has been shell-shocked because this team now have not really looked at it. They had a couple of chances in the first half, both saved by Nick Pope, and Newcastle have just gone from strength to strength. Goals from Voldemort, and then Voldemort getting kind of inadvertent assist as he looked to receive a ball off a pass from Jolinton in the first, I think it was in the first place, ran away from the ball. The ball nicks off a Paris Saint-Germain player. Wait a minute, Kulusevski's ball one back already for Paris Saint-Germain. And that is the immediate response that they needed. And let's hope that isn't the... Ah, yes, more EA FC kind of nonsense looking shots here, with the players phasing through the seats. The more things change, the more they stay the same, am I right? But in any case, that is the immediate response that they would have wanted. No Barcola. He's only on the bench and phasing through the seats. That is quite hubris, to be honest. But in any case, well, as we were saying, for Jolinton's goal, Voldemort moved away from a pass that was intended for him, nicked off a Paris Saint-Germain player, got the ball back, and then provided the assist, with Jolinton doing the rest. As Hujmand, I think that is, joined Sporting Lisbon on deadline day, so a lot of moves did happen. One that was immediately denied was Lewis Howe to Arsenal, who had supposedly, I think, broken the release clause in his contract or something. The board were rumoured to have blocked the move rather than Eddie Howe doing anything for it, which is obviously the board's prerogative to do. Eddie Howe just manages the football team, really. Well, next for Newcastle United, a bit of a favourable matchup. They're off to the seaside to face Bournemouth. We know resting on the beach, unless they win the game and go to the beach afterwards. And there for a football game. If it goes anything like most of this season, Newcastle United providing some spectacular football at times. And they've just got to keep their shape as much as possible and avoid that dreaded corner kick that they've been struggling with. Or even a cross or free kick in general. Voltemade is through here and he's scored a second. Nick Voltemade is silencing his critics today. 2 goals for him. 3 for Newcastle United, restoring their lead. Well, probably should have done better here defensively, Paris Saint-Germain, but Voltemade will certainly take it. Another goal for him. And his message to the critics on from the German media. How about that? Newcastle United 3, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Again, no clean sheet for Newcastle United, but I think tonight of all nights they will not care because they are having a ball right now. They are beating the European champions. Brilliant move from Botherwise. Had his man sliding for dust. He's gone down and the referee will bring it back for a foul. Will he book the player? Looks like he will. I think it's Mendes, I think. It is. No, it's not Mendes, it's João Neves, my apologies. Bruno Guimaraes is hurting a bit, but I don't think he should be okay. It's definitely a yellow card offence for sure. Eddie Howe is down there asking for more by the looks of it. And getting very animated about it. Well, there's no denying that Eddie Howe has passion inside his body. He's always possessed it. And there it's showing. Jointon, well done. Longer. Oh, he's beaten Mendes here. And the ball was close to Simon on the cross. The best kick out by Simon though. Only went as far as Hakimi here. Here's Tonali. Ramsey. Marquinhos. Great header away. Jointon brings it down though. Voltemade again. He finds Bruno Guimaraes. Guimaraes shoots. It's 4-1. And Newcastle United really are in dreamland now. What a game by Newcastle United. They have blown Paris out of the stadium. 4-1. And there's nothing they can do. Newcastle United's play has been sublime. And it shows again today. And this really puts right the pre-season losses they had against the likes of Barca, Bayern Munich. Today, they have actually taken the bigger fish on and they're winning it. Paris Saint-Germain 1, Newcastle United 4. How many more do you think? Another score coming in. Virian Wirtz has scored for Liverpool as they take on, I think it's Korbag. And it's 3-0 to Liverpool. Fabian Schär cuts that one out. Probably some questions of his arm, but the referee lets play go on. Alvaro, a beautiful ball over the top. And here comes Jacob Ramsey. Voltemade is just about arriving in support. And Pacho puts it out. What a beautiful play from Newcastle United. Their wing play is almost second to none at times. Ramos is coming on for Due. No matter what happens here from here on out, Newcastle United have played a spellbinding game, and they have taken Paris Saint-Germain to task. And Newcastle United looking to make a big group substitution. Lewis Hall's coming on. He started on the bench, so he's coming on as well. I think that's Dan Burn who's making an appearance, his first of the season, and Willock has come on for Tadali. So Eddie Howe able to rest a few players now, because Newcastle United do look home and free. Never count Paris out until the final whistle, however. And another score coming in. Well, Manchester City, they looked home and dry at one point, but now Slovenia has scored a third. It was 2-2 against them in Galatasaray, but City have gone and scored a third. City really in a fight tonight against Galatasaray of all teams. Galatasaray no slouches, however. They took Manchester United to task just a year or so ago, a season or so ago, in the Champions League, in the group stage. Definitely took them to task. So now they're looking to give Manchester City a lesson or two. Lewis Hall, that's not a bad effort, to be fair. The confidence that these players are getting this season, and actually that's wider than we thought. But I guess it's worth it. If your team's 4-1 up, then you can try that kind of thing. Just don't really get into the habit of it. Vitina, Ramos, Vitina Dembele, now Vitina again. Vitina's linking up with all his teammates at the moment, and then Pope with a save. Well, it's always been the odd goal for Newcastle. They'll certainly take it if their team keeps winning, though. Schär puts it out for a corner. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. Only if you're Newcastle United, though. Comes this one, Kulusevski is high and looping to the far post, and nothing came of it at all. Alframento. Wonderful ball to Elanga. And now Newcastle at pace. No one's going to him at all. It's bad defending from Paris Saint-Germain, and Bruno Guimaraes went for shot goal himself. I think he got his feet a little bit crossed. I was going to say he probably should have passed to Valdemade, but to be fair, I think he had his feet crossed a little bit, trying to control the ball. So he probably wouldn't have been able to react quickly enough to pick him out. Now Neves, he went into the book earlier. The teammate to Ramos. Saved by Nick Pope. He's deflected back into the path of Ramos. It's 4-2. And what is Ramos doing? He really should be picking up the ball rather than kicking it again. Well, it's just one of those, isn't it? One of those where Nick Pope makes the save, but you can do nothing with the rebound here. No, there's not a lot you can do. Fabian Schär probably could have done a bit better, maybe, position-wise, but I don't think there's any blame needed for that one. Just one of those goals that you get. And, well, Newcastle winning. And like we said, I think at this of all nights, they won't care, because they're still getting 3 points at this moment. But it's Paris Saint-Germain. Like I said, you don't count them out, really, until the final whistle, because their star power is quite above Newcastle on paper, anyway. But on the pitch today, Newcastle have done very, very well. Dembele, by Bruno Guimaraes, brilliantly done. Picked out Elanga, but he ran right into Mendes. 9 minutes left. Newcastle United still have a cushion. Just need to remain as compact as possible. That. You probably could argue that maybe Nick Pope probably could have done better with the parry out rather than into the path of the player, but sometimes it just happens. And Anthony Gordon is coming on for Anthony Elanga. So Eddie Howe replacing one speedy peddler for another. Oh, Dembele, beautiful touch. And he's immediately cut out by Fabian Schär, but that was a beautiful touch there. But now, here come Newcastle United again. Ball over the top. Voldemade, not the best of first touches, but he keeps control of the ball. He's got his way through. Hat-trick for Voldemade. And he has silenced his critics tonight. Wonderful hat-trick. The first of his career, I think. And they said in the German press, I think it was either a Bayern Munich board member or someone said, we found, I think it was, quote, we found idiots, or something like that, to pay that kind of money. And those idiots, Newcastle United tonight, have repaid in kind, really. And guess what? Those idiots are beating the European champions. Nick Voldemade says have that. Paris 2, Newcastle United 5. Paris PSV. Speaking of Bayern Munich, actually, they've just scored, actually. Serge Gnabry is, I think it was Bayern president or something. I didn't really pay much attention to it because it just sounded ridiculous. Serge Gnabry makes it 2-1 to Bayern Munich against PSG. It was probably following, if it was Bayern Munich, then it would probably make sense. Well, it wouldn't make sense, it's ridiculous. But it kind of makes sense from where it came from, considering that Bayern Munich did beat Newcastle United in the Champions Trophy. But it was a pre-season trophy. It meant, well, it didn't mean nothing, but... And I think Voldemade actually scored, if I remember rightly, but he's got 3 tonight. It's not going to matter now. He silenced everybody, really. Those idiots are beating 5-2 against Paris Saint-Germain. Nick Voldemade, like I said, says have that. And well, like we said at the end of the first half, not many teams can say that they have not only beaten Paris Saint-Germain, but they've played them out of the stadium, out of their own stadium, more or less. But Newcastle United are one such team that can say, we did. And if that is a statement of intent for Newcastle United for this season's Champions League, then that's a pretty good precedent to set. Nothing is bigger than a 5-2 win against the champions. And not only that, they pretty much dominated them for the most part as well. There's Anthony Gordon choosing not to speed down the wing. There's no real need to. A famous night in the history of Newcastle United. They played Paris Saint-Germain out of the stadium. Nick Voldemade silenced his critics. This is Newcastle United's world. We're living in it. Paris Saint-Germain 2, Newcastle United 5, says the entire story. So let's take a look at all the other Champions League scores for match day 1. Napoli in their super team beating Chelsea by 1-0 in their opening game as well. Benfica holding Real Madrid to a draw. The shocks keep coming. I think it's Atlanta and Union with a 1-1 draw. Bayern Munich won that game against PSV in the end. Standard Liège and Slavia Praha holding it over to a 2-2 draw. Manchester City took the game and ran eventually against Galatasaray, winning 4-2. Liverpool beating Quarbag, I think that is, by 3-0. Barcelona beating Copenhagen by 2-1. Frankfurt beaten by Europa League winners Spurs by 1-0. Club Brugge losing to Marseille, who aren't missing Balade too much, winning by 2-1 there. Dortmund losing to Inter Milan in a big clash there. Bayer Leverkusen, well, they've all had a bit of a circus after the eventual Saki Ten Hag after about a week. They lost to Villarreal tonight. Atletico Madrid beating Bayern by 2-0. Bilbao and Sporting Lisbon holding each other to a true or draw. And Monaco holding Juventus to a draw. That was very well earned. Arsenal beating Trabzonspor by 2-1. Ajax with their very interesting badge losing 3-1, and I couldn't read the last score. It was too fast. That's my apologies for that. We'll probably find out in a second, actually. So it's all redundant. Newcastle lead on a superior goal difference, but really the rest of the table is rather redundant. We've only had one game, of course. I'm trying to figure out what that last team was. I think it was Villarreal or Olympiacos, actually, that won their game, as we said. So the top 8, I believe, go through. I think it's 9 through 24 that play in the... I still don't really understand this format. I still don't get it, even though we've had a year of it. But, yeah, it's all kind of redundant at the moment, as we've only played in match day 1. But it's a good start, certainly for Newcastle. It's a surprising one. And obviously all the teams at the bottom. Don't think there's any real surprises here. Maybe Juventus, you could say, was a bit of a surprise. And, of course, the biggest shock, Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea down there in 29th. I think because they conceded a lot of goals against Newcastle. I think Paris are at the bottom. Yes, they are. Only Quarbag are worse off.